Hi everyone, Pentacular here, and I am here to bring you the ultimate guide on Kled, which includes Kled's tips and tricks as well as a new, very powerful build for Kled Season 11 gameplay. And with this powerful build, I am sure that Kled will rise to the top of the tier list in just no time. So enjoy! So first for Kled's tricks, I'll just be talking about the 4 tricks I talked about in the Season 10 Kled guide that I made a while ago. If you want like a more detailed description of each of these 4 tricks, then feel free to check out the Season 10 Kled guide, especially for the tips and tricks section. So other than that, I'll just be going over like a quick summary review of the 4 tricks, and yeah. So the first trick is Kled's EQ combo. You basically, just as the name goes, you press E then Q at the target. What this does basically is that it cancels out your animation on Kled's Q, which makes the entire combo extremely smooth. The second combo I'm going to talk about for Kled is his RQE combo. Basically, you press R towards an enemy. When you hit them, you Q, then you E. And it works like this. The reason why this combo makes sense is that you're using your card's temporary knockback to guarantee the landing of your Q and E. Just like this. The third combo I'm going to talk about on Kled is his Courage combo. It basically makes the Lizard Scarl come back very quickly. So it kind of works like this. It would be 5 autos plus a Q. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and a Q. And there, you get your Lizard back. The last trick I'm gonna talk about for Kled is not necessarily a trick, but in a sense a kind of a tip in the laning phase that you could use, which is essentially that you should make sure that your W's unlock timing is correct. So let's say you started a game, and then for level 1 you would always go Q. For level 2, however, you would kind of wait and see what the situation is. If you realize that, hey, maybe I can get a lot more autos off on an enemy, then you immediately click W, and that's when you land all 4 hits. This trick kind of works because in a sense you're guaranteeing when the first time you're gonna proc your W, which makes it very useful considering that your W is a passive that you can control. But what you can ultimately control is when the first time you use it, and that's kind of what the last trick for Kled comes from. So for Kled's tips, I still have the 3 tips from last time, plus an extra one that I thought it will be very important to include. So let's go into it. If you guys want more details, feel free to check out the Season 10 Kled guide that I made earlier, which talked about the first 3 tips very explicitly. And so in this video, I'm only gonna do like a quick summary for it. So onto the first tip, which is Kled is very strong early. As you can see, I am currently level 3, but if you look at my maximum health, I actually have 1000. It's 444 plus 574, so I have over 1000. Whereas this Wukong only really has 781, while we both have like the same bonus health of 80. Well, this is mainly because Kled is the tankiest champion early game in League of Legends, and his base health is pretty incredible. So let's say in a laning phase and you want to like trade, if you guys trade 50-50, let's say if you can trade him 100 health for your 100 health, then no matter what it will pay off because you ultimately have more health than he does. And that's kind of why Kled is very strong early game. The second tip that I'm going to talk about is use R to roam. This is kind of because Kled's R range is really long and really helpful. So let's say you're playing top and you see that there's like an opportunity mid that where people are fighting, and you see that hey, there's an enemy champ here, you can just R and do a QE combo. And usually when you get an extra kill, you're generally very ahead in your laning phase. The third trick that I'm gonna talk about for Kled is his ability to tower dive really easily. This is why. So say I want to tower dive someone, let's say this enemy champion that's under tower, and my wave has yet to come in. What I can do is that I can go in, and I predict that my wave is gonna come in, and note how the aggro really switched from me to this as my Scarrow dies. This is generally how Kled works. If you were able to have someone else to tank the tower when your lizard dies, then ultimately you just get this, you lose the aggro unless you hit the champion again. So for the last tip, which I'm going to talk about more in detail, is Kled's teamfight tips. In teamfight, you would generally do something similar to the tower dive, because generally when Scarrow dies, enemies aggro will switch. And this is kind of because if you read his passive, when he gets dismounted, he in a sense gains an instant of untargetability. So when he dismounts, at that moment I am completely untargetable, just like that. And so you can kind of abuse this in teamfight, where you go in, you tank a lot of health, and say you got a tank item. Let's say, for example, what I would recommend later to build for Kled is gargoyles. So what you could easily do is that you can, for example, in teamfight, you are into the enemy team, you tank up lots of damage, you make sure that they are hitting you. Okay, for some reason the tower isn't hitting, but say in this case it is. Note how my aggro switched. And now the next thing in teamfight you want to do is you want to gain your lizard back. And by gaining your lizard back in late game, you generally gain like 2000 health, which is quite incredible. And while you're like on your mini Scarrow form, you proc your Gargoyle, Stoneplate, and generally that gets you out and safely gets your Scarrow back, which allows you to enter the fight a second time. And that's kind of how the mindset should be for teamfight. And now for the last part, I'll be going over Kled's build. And I believe this build should be the most important part of this video, since it is completely new to Season 11. So for the build, I'll be first going over the ruins and then the item. For ruins, now what I would generally prefer to bring is Grasp of the Undying. The reason why for this change is that Grasp is generally stronger in lane because it gives you a sudden burst, and it kind of scales with your max health. As we have talked about in our first tip, Kled is very strong early because he has a very high maximum health. And for a rune that scales with 4% of your maximum health, you actually get the most benefit out of it. Moreover, it also heals you and increases your health, which is very powerful. The next rune that I will bring is Demolish. So Demolish is of course a very powerful rune that also scales with your max health and also helps you to take down turret plating very easily. So that generally grants you a lot of gold, and that's kind of why you bring Demolish, to just like knock down turrets really quickly and get gold from turret plating. The third rune would be the Conditioning. I generally bring Conditioning because in this build for Kled, I would generally opt to build a tank where there is more defensive stats. And as you can see, Conditioning scales with defense because it increases your armor and magic resist by 5%, which is really good. Overgrowth is also very good for Kled because it scales at your maximum health. As you can see, it says once you've absorbed 120 monsters or enemy minions, gain an additional 3.5% maximum health, which becomes pretty huge for Kled in the late game because 3.5 maximum per health is gonna be quite a bit of health that you're gonna gain from a small ruin. The next two ruins that I'm gonna talk about is first Triumph, because of course it scales with your health, and it's generally really helpful in team fights, because when you have such a high health pool and you suddenly like regain like 12% of your missing health, it becomes a very large chunk that just keeps you in the team fight for a lot longer than you should be. And Alacrity is generally just really good scaling with Kled because Kled generally needs attack speed, and this ruin is like a really good to just easily grant Kled the attack speed that he needs. For small ruins, you will just bring attack speed, attack damage, and then for the third defense one, bring either magic resist or armor depending on your enemy. For example, in this case, if I'm facing a Brand, then I will bring magic resist. If I would face someone like Darius, who is mostly physical damage focused, then I would bring armor. And yeah, that's basically for ruins. Now I'll be talking about Kled's items, which is generally a very big change with the introduction of Kled's Season 11. And for now, maybe you would be surprised by this, but for Kled, in my opinion, the best build is Sunfire Aegis. Why? The main reason is a mechanic that no one really knows about Kled, and that is, in fact, according to Riot's algorithm, the 100% of Scarro's health is actually considered bonus health. How do I prove this? Well, let me show you this. So, we all know the Gargoyle Stoneplate. If you look at the scaling, for Unbreakable, it says gain a 100 plus 100% bonus health shield, right? So, we bought this. Right now, our bonus, our Scarrow has 400 health, and Gargoyle Stoneplate says that will give us a 500 shield, which totally makes sense because our bonus health is considered to be 400 plus the 100 from the base passive active of Unbreakable. So if you proc this, it becomes a very significant shield because Kled, unlike any other champion in League, has an automatic 400 bonus health to his kit, which is absolutely incredible. This algorithm kind of just guarantees that Kled is gonna be very OP when he is matched with items that scales with bonus health. And as of currently, I've checked almost every item. The two most significant item that scales with bonus health is first Sunfire Aegis and Gargoyle Stoneplate, which are almost the two essential items that we should get. Sunfire Aegis is generally just a very broken item because, like, as you can see from its scaling, it scales with 1% of your bonus health. So at level 1, you already gain a 21 base damage. Note how this value really grows at level 18, that it becomes like 49. Moreover, when you like generally get a build, generally I would first build Sunfire Aegis into a boots. In this, when you're playing against like a CC heavy comp, you go Merc Tread. When you're going against a AD heavy comp, you go play the Steel Caps. And then after that, you will go Stairs Gauge. The reason why Stairs Gauge is very strong is because this item is absolutely broken in teamfight. Moreover, it automatically gives you a shield, which doesn't require the active of Gargoyle Stoneplate. So in a sense, it kind of achieves almost the same thing as Gargoyle Stoneplate early game, but moreover, it in a sense gives you more AD and health, which actually scales better early game. After that, if you want more damage, you would go Titanic Hydra. If you want more defense and teamfight phase is starting, then you get Gargoyle Stoneplate. For the 5th item, get whichever item that you didn't get. So if you got Gargoyles, you get Titanic. If you get Titanic earlier, then you get Gargoyles. And for the last item is really situational. You can get support item if you have an bad ADC like Knight's Vow, or you can get a Sword Mail if you need more Grievous Wound, or you can get Randuin's Omen if you want to be the carry that generally slows down their AD carry's damage. But generally this build gives you a insanely high DPS along with a very tanky stats. So if you look at this, right, currently I have 4,000 health. I can literally go tank this tower for a very long period of time while doing some incredible damage. If you look at my current DPS, it's literally 600 when I'm building full tank. And now, note how the Spirit Gauge is proccing. And for example, when you enter a team fight and you know that you probably can't last out long anymore, you just click this, and hey, suddenly you gain a 3,000 health shield, which is honestly just incredible. And that's something that I'll definitely recommend. The next thing that I'm going to talk about is how OP Sunfire currently is for Kled. And this is probably going to be the last thing that I'm going to talk about for the video. But generally, I just want to show you the amount of potential that Sunfire can do. So let's say I restarted a game. This game, in a hypothetical scenario, I got really fed, and so at level 1 I was able to get a Sunfire Aegis. Of course, it's just like a hypothetical scenario. Now guess what? Check out my DPS. When I don't even have, I have absolutely 0 AD, right? Let's say I got W level 1 for some reason just to proc the Sunfire Aegis passive. Now, note my DPS, okay? I am not autoing this guy. I'm only autoing this guy. But check my DPS on Sunfire Aegis against this champion. My DPS is 85. I level 1 with Sunfire Aegis alone. That is almost like a level 3 Renekton, which is absolutely incredible. Like, your base damage is just so high along with Sunfire Aegis that this makes Kled absolutely broken as of currently. I don't know if Riot will fix this mechanism of maybe like making Kled's Spiral no longer count as bonus health, but for now, please make sure to abuse this when you can. And yeah, that's gonna be it for my video. Thanks for watching, and I hope it helps. Let me know if you have any questions, and I will be very happy to help you. Anyways, I'll see you guys later.